Hello and welcome to this MantaPro tutorial video. In this video we are going to be going over the basics of how to use the liquid particle tools. To begin, I'm going to set up a quick setup default liquid simulation. I'll set the simulation speed to 2 just so that things are a little faster. And now that's good for basically the entire simulation. We're going to go down to the particles panel. And we are going to select the spray, foam, and bubble. These will determine which particles are attached to your simulation and are simulated. And then we're going to press the link default particles. This will automatically connect the default particle objects, which you can see here in the outliner, to the spray, foam, and bubble particle systems. Press that button. And then Control R because we're in the replay cache type, and we can immediately see that we have particles. And now, similar to the Ember system, we have the quick toggle button, which allows us to quickly toggle between point view and rendered view. And you can see we have these particles. One of the first settings up here we have is the particle size, and this increases the particle size. But what it's actually doing, if you click the Reveal Particles button, which will unhide that collection, and look at them, you can see that it's actually scaling the particles themselves in order to achieve that effect. So that's important to note, especially when you're using custom particles, but we'll get to that in a little bit. You also have the link particle size. If you turn that off, you can see that each particle now has its own slider to adjust the size. We don't have any bubble particles really yet, so we'll just let it play for a bit, and then you can see. We also have the display amount. If you're working with a lot and still want to get a preview, you can turn this down to get something more reasonable. The display mode for the particles, said that is what is changed with the quick toggle. And then we also have the particle resolution. Now what this does is it's basically a multiplier for how many particles you're going to end up having. For example, if I set this to 2, you can immediately see we have a lot more particles being generated, and it also uses a lot more processing power. I'm actually going to change the display resolution to 50 before even trying to do the quick toggle, because last time I tried it, yeah, you can see there are just a lot of particles, and Blender really starts to slow down. You also have the particle lifetime settings. Here you have the maximum particle lifetime and the minimum particle lifetime. These can be useful for either A, speeding up your simulation, or adjusting the way it looks. For example, you could set the minimum particle lifetime to 0, and it would help the particles not stick around for too long, so that when more particles get added, they're already missing, so that you should have less particles at a time, but still look relatively like there's a lot. We also have the particles and boundaries. By default, this is set to delete. This means that particles that are pushed out of the area of the domain or into an effector object get deleted. Alternatively, it can be set to push out, where the secondary particles that left the domain are pushed back into the domain instead of being deleted. The next section is the custom. This is where you can actually set custom particles. And you also have the display as, which is the same as the display up there. You have the view amount, same as the view amount there. It also tells you how many particles are on the frame for each type. Basically, you can change this to object collection, change the object One important thing to note is that if you do change the object, the particle scale will be scaling those objects as well. That's just one thing to be aware of. And then we also have the final section, which is the advanced section. Here we have all the rest of the settings for the particles and how they interact and are generated. They are here if you need to tweak how the particles act, like bubble buoyancy, that could be something you want to tweak. Trapped air potential. However, most likely you probably won't need to mess with any of those, as the defaults are probably good enough. So yeah, that is pretty much everything. Thank you for watching.